Y'all, so let's get into it here. We all experienced Barbenheimer this weekend. I did the double feature.
Same.
And Eric, you did. You other guys, you did not. That's right.
No.
Yeah, I did. Friday we did Barbie, and just last night we did Oppenheimer.
I did Oppenheimer on Thursday. I said Barbie yesterday.
Cool. So we've all watched all of these. One of those rare weeks where we all got to the theater, which is great.
So Andrew, what order did you go in though? Since we're the only Barbenheimer bros, which order did you go into?
So I did Barbie first. Chelsea and I went and saw Barbie, and then I went to Oppenheimer by myself because she's a well-adjusted human being that was like, I'm just gonna go home and see it another time. And I was like, I gotta do both. I have to.
Me and my wife did Oppenheimer first, then Barbie.
So that's interesting, man. What, I'm kind of curious because like seeing Barbie first, it was like, you had the laughs and everything, and then you went into this soul-crushing, terrifying, infuriating movie.
I had the opposite. Actually.
Is that right?
I thought it was Oppenheimer was hilarious. I was banging my knee, and then I went into this.
His wife's drinking again.
I don't know, man. That fucking gust of wind taking off Einstein's hat was still funny in the theater.
It was. I love that.
But so, Barbie here, I think we might be a scotch split on. I'll jump out and say I think it's very funny. It's probably the funniest thing I've seen all year. I thought, Greta did a great job pulling this all together because, like, I will say, when I remember hearing, like, I think back to when I heard Greta Gerwig Barbie movie, I was like, oh, just what in the fuck Brooklyn hipster shit is this? But like she totally fucking pulled it off. I couldn't believe it. Thought it was very funny. I will say I think it sort of trips over itself trying to do its best to make everybody happy and winds up doing this like pseudo South Park, like everybody was a bit wrong, which I don't think it needs to do. Trying to explain that without like spoiling too much.
Yeah.
It's just like I think there was a little too much Ken catering. That's just me. But Gosling, man, I mean, I knew the guy could do comedy, but I'm sorry, he's the funniest fucking part of this movie. He stole it from me.
I mean, he's really funny.
Yeah, I loved it. I also had issues with how it ended. I think I'm gonna see it again, and I think. To me, it is dealing with a lot of the same things that Asteroid City is dealing with, like the reconciling of making big, stylized movies that don't really look or act like real life when you have you're dealing with real decline in real life, like for a lot of people and for the country in general. Like I think that's what's interesting about the way they mix the like going into the real world part. Again, I don't want to give too much away about the thing, but like probably going into the real world, quote unquote, like stuff like that, I think deals with that in a way that was interesting to me on top of all of the incredible design, the humor, which I think everybody was great in.
The production design, the set design,
insane.
It was, that's what really blew me away about this movie. I thought it was funny as well. I do think that the ending, they didn't really stick it. But it's kind of a hard thing to adapt anyway, and I think they did a good job considering all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a great movie that exists. Honestly, like it was really cool, seeing all these groups of friends and people. Again, this movie wasn't. I don't have the nostalgia for the product that other folks do, so it's not for me. I'm not Ben Shapiro being like, why the fuck did this happen? You know what I mean?
Like, you mean the internet's biggest loser this morning? Exactly. What a fucking capital L loser.
Did Andrew drag you to see it?
My producer dragged me. He put me in his little pocket and dragged me all the way over it. No, but you know what I mean? Like, so I don't have the nostalgia for it. And it's okay for a movie not to be entirely for you. I did find it really funny. I do think that the production design's incredible. I think Gosling, Robbie, Simu Lu's really good in this. I'm happy to see Simu Lu do some stuff.
Yes, he was great.
I still like him.
Issa Rae is really good. There's a lot of like standouts. I just think that the movie is really overworked. The script is tripping over itself. Kind of, Andrew, you pointed at it. There's a moment in the movie where I think Margot Robbie says something to the effect of like, "I don't feel very pretty." It's been a couple days. Apologies that I saw Oppenheimer too. "I don't feel very pretty," or something like that. And then immediately the intermittent, always know the script's good when they have a narrator sometimes, but not always. Helen Mirren has to show up and be like, "Well, you'd know that'd be better if it wasn't coming from Margot Robbie." Like, it's just it's anticipating people getting upset about certain things and or anything that might be a stray hair. It's like, let's cut it immediately. I think that is an impulse that movie has that I wish it didn't. It felt very self-conscious to me about falling all these ways.
It 100% is, but I will say, at least for me, that joke worked really well because I was sitting in the theater like, what are you, fucking stupid? And then Helen Mirren says that, and I was like, all right, you're hanging a hat on that one because it's like the most obvious of all of those. I'll say, as much as I think he's fucking hilarious and like is a total legend at this point, all of the Will Ferrell Mattel stuff did not work for me at all. And I think one of the reasons is, for whatever reason, they decided that the way that the Mattel office world functions is the same way as Barbie Land versus the real world. Like, you see other parts of the real world in like Venice Beach and other like parts of LA and whatever, and everyone's acting like we act in society more or less. And then for whatever reason, like Will Ferrell and all those Mattel guys are like, the way that they mine the humor from it is they have them act like fucking aliens from outer space in a way. And that, I was just kind of like, this was like a step too far. It had me laughing at parts, but I think overall having them act and function that way did not work.
That's an interesting point, because if they were more like regular people, and if they got into the go to the Barbie Land or whatever, it would have been interesting to see that kind of fish out of water thing versus a fish and fish.
I don't think that the rules of the world are ever really well established, which is a script problem. Fair. You know what I mean? Like, there's a part when Kristen Weird Barbie played by
Kate McKinnon.
Kate McKinnon is like, there's going to be a portal rift in the world if you don't fix it, and blah, blah, blah. And I never see or understand what that could even possibly.
But at the same time, I wouldn't want them to be trying to stop a portal, because I've seen so many movies stopping a portal.
For sure. But then why say it? It's kind of.
But I think that leans into the reading of it as like the script itself is like the way that a young child makes up a story for their Barbie. Like, I mean, there have been numerous readings of that in that way, and I think that lends itself to that way, and it lets them get away with all the stuff they're trying to do, which is like way too much, way too much. But I prefer that to not trying much at all.
It is a very ambitious movie for sure, and it does land a lot of those things.
That reading, Chris, I would think is a little more legitimate if you didn't have the America Ferrera and the daughter part, because that part doesn't function like that. So you can't say that the whole movie's doing that, because they don't. Well, I mean, that's not a part that like a little girl would recreate with her dolls. Like, oh, my fucking overworked, depressed mother and me, the angsty teen. Like, you're not playing that part.
But like, I think that's part of what I was meaning when like you're reconciling things. Like, how do you keep on having a life like Barbie's life, where that is how it's set out and that is how it exists, versus something like that with Sasha in the middle. I think that is what it's dealing with. And like, again, I'm not sure if there would be a satisfying ending to a movie like this. I don't know if it exists.
Probably not.
And like, for something this big, for trying as much as it does, like, I really don't know if you could ever land this plane.
I mean, it's really funny, and it looks really great, and I think that a lot of great performances. And there's again, I'm not throwing stones at the flick, and I'm glad people enjoyed it, and I think it's an important movie for people to enjoy, because that's your movie. You should enjoy it.
Yeah. I liked all the music in it. I like how like we are stopping at least twice in the movie. No, maybe like 3 times for like some real, like, honest to goodness, old fashioned like studio musical number kind of sequences, which I thought were really great.
I think that's when it excelled the most. I feel like we should have leaned into that a little bit more, and maybe even trimmed down the runtime.
Yes,
a little bit, but I will say, I know Barbenheimer, not bad, not bad. But my dream double feature is Barbie and Southland Tales. Put them together, baby.
That'd be a great program.
They've got very similar pulses going on, I think.
Also,
you need the Ocean's 11 to fucking break Richard Kelly out of director's jail for that.
Please. George Clooney, please do that.
I think Michael Cera was a treat in this as well.
Oh, right.
We haven't seen him much lately, and I thought he was great.
And it was just, you know, what's funny? It was just Michael Cera doing Michael Cera stuff, and I'm like, that's what I like. You know what I mean? Like, there you go.
But exactly. I will say it had been a while since I'd seen him do Michael Cera stuff. Because I will say I was getting pretty tired of it. You know, he's a funny dude, but that is he's, you know, the fucking John Cale of the acting world, man. That is one note just humming along for 45 minutes, but really funny in this movie. You know, and McKinnon I thought was really funny too.
Yeah. I think the hardest I've laughed in a theater in a long time is I will just say the 90s pop song needle drop that we get without spoiling what that is and how they use it.
They're talking about it in the chat. It is fucking hilarious.
The beach is just really, when they're on the beach and Ken is doing it, that was probably the hardest I've laughed in a long time. So there you go.
Can I tell you the funniest? So we were you know, our crowd was great.
Yes,
you know, celebratory, had all the dress up and whatnot. You know, women like decked to the nines, fabulous gay men just out and about, and then like beards like me, you know, there with my wife and everything, just duding it up. But the guy in front of us, it was a real treat to behold this guy sitting there for this movie that he like, clearly this was not his first choice to go with his lady friend to the theater. And when I tell you, this isn't a spoiler or anything, but like, they make a really solid fucking Snyderverse joke in the movie. This dude in front of me, you can see him slump down in the chair. Even the lady friend, dude, the lady friend's like patting him on the shoulder, like, "Oh, don't get mad now, don't go this." And I was like, I am sitting behind the biggest fucking loser in this theater right now, Primo.
Yeah, let's see the Justice League Zack Snyder cut do these numbers at the box office.
It would not have.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was sweet shit there. I loved all the stuff with them like going to and from Barbie World and just like that really like intentionally fake old school, like the skies going by, you know. I thought it's such an interesting aesthetic that, again, like I said up top, like I'm just so stunned that Warner Brothers, because like, let's be real, in their infinite wisdom about everything over the last couple of years, was like, yeah, you can do it. Like stunned that some suit didn't get in there and was like, make this look more down to earth, or like whatever shithead note.
The Will Ferrell office looks like a Jodorowsky set. These are not references you usually find in major motion pictures like this. Certainly not ones that make $155 million in America.
Yeah.
And Warner Brothers got lucky because, you know, which we'll talk about in a minute, they fucked up and they lost Oppenheimer. You know what I mean? Yes, Oppenheimer absolutely would have been theirs, but they fucked around and found out. But they just sort of stepped into gold with Barbie, which is they got very lucky this weekend in terms of like backing the right horse.
I'll tell you what. Oh, go ahead, dude.
Now, we'll see if the Daniel Kaluuya gritty meta textual Barney movie is going to do these numbers and is as well directed. We'll see.
I'm holding out for Teletubbies, dude.
Maybe
that's the thing. And I mean, like, we are now about to enter the Mattelverse. It's just going to be as stupid as any other verse we're going to be in. And it's
possibly stupider. Can I just say possibly stupider?
And that's the thing is that, I mean, it's not, and it's absolutely not Greta Gerwig's fault. You know what I mean? Because it's a great movie and it's got, you know, great stuff. But I mean, like, we are now going to enter the Mattelverse for fucking real, and you are going to see Rock'em Sock'em robots. You're going to see.
I pulled up the list: Hot Wheels, American Girl dolls,
of course. Look, I'll say this about this:
Uno.
Oh, dude, the Uno movie. I hope I get to play 8, please. Steve for 8.
I will say, as long as they do not, if Hot Wheels doesn't enter into Barbie 2. I'm fine.
Yeah, that's
just
fair.
make your little
these-
dumb movies. Yeah.
Yeah,
If-
sure,
If
that's
these are
totally
just
fair.
franchises in and of themselves, like that's the way it looks like Nintendo's going to do it. Like it's just going to be Super Mario Brothers 2, and then Zelda, whenever Zelda happens, will be its own thing. Metroid, whenever Metroid is thing, will be its own thing. Like that. It was the mixing and the TV-ness of it all. Like that was what was driving me insane about the Marvel movie.
Sure.
That was primo, and the way that affected how it was built dramatically and built stylistically. It corroded everything. So like that is what bothered me. If you can just do this, guess what? John Wick just made my favorite John Wick movie, and it's the 4th one they did.
Right.
So, hey, maybe it works if it's just in franchises.
This summer, the Hot Wheels cars are getting ready to drive on an all-new track, and if they're lucky, a certain pink-wearing blonde might drop by to wish them well.
No, don't do that. Just don't do that.
And they have to digitally remove the sniper's red dot from Margot Robbie's head when she's acting in that movie. Just a little...
Yeah. So we'll see on all that. I will say what is kind of a bummer is like, so Greta like goes and does this movie. I have absolutely no interest and never have in the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe shit.
Yeah.
And I never watched any of those original movies. Never read I just don't care. And so this is like, I don't want it to be one of those things where here's a totally established, interesting filmmaker and she's going off and doing this franchise shit now. It's totally uninteresting to me.
This was my least favorite Greta Gerwig movie, but I do, and I think that Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe we could have some Little Women aspects of it, you know what I mean? Because there are some real world depression-y stuff. So like,
kids work. I mean, like it has a similar tone to it. I mean, like that's the thing. I'm going to show up for whatever she does.
Exactly.
Like this.
Agreed.
This has been 3 things in a row by her that I really like to varying degrees. And I'm going to show up for whatever it is. We'll see. Like the story at this point, like a sense so much of it is going to be corporate just like literature retreads and stuff like that. Like I just have to show up for who's doing it at this point. Like because so little of it is the original stuff. Like it is actual like original ideas being done on a big screen with a big company behind it. It's just not, you don't see that often. So like I just have to follow the people. That's all I can do now.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll see.